Hi everybody, Casey Wallace back here at the Portal to Ascension conference and having the extreme pleasure of kind of sitting around, hanging around, and knowing that connections come to us, knowing that integration follows, and being able to have the pleasure of meeting people, getting to know people, hearing their stories, listening to their knowings that there's more, what their design frame is for their gifts here on this Earth ship, and found another one for you. Are you excited about that? We're going to start very basic with the interview by letting you tell the audience your name and what you do, and then we're going to unleash what you do, okay?
Okay, hi, my name is Alan Howarth. I am a sound designer and music composer. I'm also a musicologist, so I've done acoustic measurements of stuff we're going to talk about. My journey is, I was a rock and roller, my hair was down to here, my band opened for the Cream and the Who, I thought I was going to be a rock star. That fades to being a road technician for a jazz band traveling the world. And then my first real gig, career-wise, was I worked on the first Star Trek movie as a sound designer. So I created the sound of the Enterprise and warp drive and transporters and lasers and monsters. This would all be in the early 80s. And then my next film after that was a movie called Escape from New York,
right,
where I met John Carpenter,
sure,
and became his scoring buddy.
Okay.
So John Carpenter and I did the music for his movies, from the Halloweens
right,
and Big Trouble and Prince of Darkness, all that stuff.
Right.
That gets me to kind of the 90s, where I made a discovery via a book called The Rods of Amun-Ra,
okay,
written by a guy named Wes Bateman, and he analyzed the Great Pyramid of Giza mathematically. So the idea is the architect must have had units of measure, because you don't just build this thing. There had to be some units of measure that are universal, because this is based on universal knowledge. So he did the research, wrote the book. It was an 800-page book. I read the whole thing, and I was like mesmerized by the data. And the boil down of the architects of Mathematica is it all reflects to pi, pi r squared, circles and spheres, and phi, which is the golden mean.
Okay.
So at the end of the book, he said the pyramid had frequencies in it.
Absolutely. What? Yeah.
So I rang him up. Hey, Wes, I just read your book. What is this? Well, one, he was thrilled somebody actually read his book.
Nice.
And second, wanted to follow up on the data. So we got together, had this experience where he shared with me the pyramid frequencies in reference to the note A. So there's a whole discussion about A440 to A432 and A444, which is all correct and it reflects this data. So as a musician, I followed up on this stuff and goes, well, what does this mean? What's it all about? I told this story to Dr. J.J. Hurtak, and he said, Alan, you're onto something. Let's prove it. So Dr. Hurtak then arranged for an expedition to the Yucatan, where we measured acoustically the resonance of over 200 Mayan temple rooms. And I made a database of Mayan resonance. It turns out that over 60% are tuned to the golden mean, which is the 432. And there's actually a peer-reviewed archaeological paper now written, which I'm an author with Dr. Hurtak, that says there's a thing called archaeoacoustics, and the ancients actually understood acoustics. This is by design. You go into these temples, you're supposed to get this vibration from the room to put you into
high frequency state,
higher consciousness, harmonic sequence.
Sure.
With the success of that, we then went and rented the Great Pyramid.
You can do that?
I said, you can rent it, let's do it.
Well.
So we went.
What kind of cracks me up is you even kind of thought about asking if you could do that.
Yeah,
right?
like you could really do that?
Well.
And Dr. Hurtak says, yeah, we can make that happen.
Wow.
So we went to Egypt. I measured the king's chamber for its acoustic resonance, and exactly what Wes Bateman had predicted in his book was the frequencies.
Sure.
And I went, okay, I'm in.
Sure.
This is real.
Yeah.
So since then, I have been evangelizing to other musicians this idea of phi-based music, which is the physical world. So if you wanted to make music for your muscles and your bones and your dog and your fish and your roses, it would be the phi-based music. 432 would resonate with that. If you wanted to tune to spirit, then you would shift the A note down to a range of 421 to 427, with counting down, the crown is 427, the third eye is 426, the throat is 425, the heart is 424, solar plex 423, down here 422, root chakra 421. So if we wanted to do dance music, it should all be tuned to 421, because that's where we're putting all this energy. Right? So I'm now manifesting an app. So you can now on your phone take all your favorite music and tune it to your well-beingness holistically or to your chakras. And I'll have that launched by the end of the year.
The challenge with the application with that is the technology's version of sound versus an instrument's portrayal of sound. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the challenge. Is you can't get a device that's activated now to authenticate that tonality to resonate with a human body, but you're going to find it.
Okay.
Okay.
I accept that.
So, Master, we want you to go into a different formulation. So this is where the sacred geometry comes in.
Absolutely.
Okay?
It's all based on sacred geometry.
And Master, the shape of the pyramid is a representation of ascension and 7 levels of consciousness. Okay? Each tonality hits a perception or level of consciousness for you.
Sure.
The highest version of consciousness, Master, cannot be delivered through a mechanical device. In fact, actually what will happen is once those tones are hit, your physical embodiment will go to another tone. But that must be launched through a perception of consciousness from the person receiving the music. Okay, do you understand what we just said?
Yes.
It's like your music or your tones will be like rocket fuel, and it's up to the person's perception of consciousness to be able to get off the launch pad.
Right.
You must do your best, Master, to convey this truth, which will in turn aid you in being a conduit for one's desire to expand their consciousness. That is the secret that nobody else can unveil. It's the secret to many things. We don't need to have that dialogue right now. But everything, of course, Master, is about tonality and tuning. And of course, your physical embodiment puts off a frequency.
Yep.
You're known universally as the frequency that you are. People are always thinking that frequency has to do with an energy field, and of course it does, but it sounds like something. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. And fear makes the tone go flat.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like an instrument out of tune in that flat, okay? You're going to assist that person in fine-tuning themselves so that as they work on their conscious state and their perception of self, they are, of course, assisted on that journey. But once they feel what those tones make them feel like, you're going to help inspire them for the further projection of themselves. And we love that about you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Well,
We
it's my purpose. I am the frequency guy.
So we want you in this lifetime, Master, for your own self, to pay very close attention to your lucid dreamings where you're seeing configurations and you're seeing notalities that don't quite make sense to you. And trust, Master, to listen to what they sound like. Listen to what they sound like.
Okay.
You're going to receive information on sounds that you may not think that there is a possibility of creating here on the physical plane, but there is. We will go as far as telling you that there is an instrument inside of those pyramids that they have hidden from people that create these tones. Okay?
Yep.
And that instrument, of course, can be created. Though information is going to come to you. It's going to unravel and come to you. And when that happens, get ready for what will take place. But we bless you on your knowing of this truth. And we press upon you the massive application and accessibility to provide this for all. Please make sure that your information that you are bringing is that this is for those of you doing the work of consciousness. So get moving, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, and the goal being for everyone to identify their personal resonance.
Yes.
Get in tune with that in their beingness, not their doingness, right? To be that person, that their contract was in place when they took this body on, and make sure that they don't exit without getting that part done.
It's also going to be interesting, Master, because everyone will hear the tones differently, because of course their perception of frequency is the veil or the channeling component that becomes their deciphering component. So make sure you tell everybody that. You can expect that upon comparison to others, you will have your authentic receivership of the levels of these tones and the resonance of these tones, so that they don't start feeling like, well, wait, this isn't sounding the same for me as it is for that. It's designed framed that way. Does that help you?
Yeah, that helps. And they'll all know when they get the tingle up their spine.
That's
right?
correct. That is correct.
We've all had that experience when we hear a great piece of music and you just kind of get the thing up your back. That is the indicator that this is correct. This has now struck a nerve, literally. That your whole spinal column is now, all your chakras are activated, and you are like, wow, I like that. No?
Did you ever think that you would do this?
Say again?
Did you ever think that you would do this?
No way. I have been adrift my whole life, sampling a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this. When I was a kid, I was a painter artist kid. Sound was like a little hobby. I had an accordion and it was like, but you don't know. But I just followed intuition, and I met so many beautiful people, and they said, oh, you'd like Alan, you should meet that. And I get to the next one and the next one, and that's how it's gone.
Do you find joy now, complete joy in doing this?
Absolutely.
And unleashing? Isn't that
and
awesome?
Passion. And it's certainly not for money. It's because I have to do this. And in a legacy mode, I know something that I want to share with everybody else, so that our culture, our world, embodiment of humanity can vibrate in harmony with the planet, because this Ascension portal that we're approaching, there'll be harmony and disharmony. So we want to be with the harmony gang, right?
You are the most magnificent being.
Thank you so much.
It is our extreme joy to be in your presence.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you for the conversation. We'd love to have you on the extended version of Extraordinary Experiences show.
Oh, absolutely. I want to play the music and the tones and pictures and to give the support. This was just a little preview, a little teaser to say, check us out next time.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being with us. Tell everybody, in the meantime, can they get a hold of you? Is there a website?
Yeah.
How do they
Two
get
websites to be aware of. My name, Alan Howarth, like Howard with TH on it, alanhowarth.com. And then about this particular topic, I have a website called naturalresonance.net. And that's very specific to this data that we just talked about.
Thank you so much for coming by. Thanks everybody for being with us. We'll be back with you soon.